Welcome back to Joe's Toolbox Exchange. Today we're going to be reviewing another box and also kind of going over what we have in it, because this is actually one of our personal boxes here at the shop. In an earlier video we did a shop tour, and in that video we had a cleaning cart and we kind of outgrew it, and I knew I'd been wanting something bigger, and we've kind of been using a cabinet that was here in conjunction with that box and then another little bench. So we just kind of combined all those down into this box. It took me a while to find this. This is actually exactly what I had been wanting, but I did not want to pay the list price for it, as the list price for this setup, the Hutch, or rather Workcenter, work surface, locker, and the roll cab is a little under $12,000. It's $11,595. I did not want to spend that, so it took me a couple years to find this box for a price I was comfortable paying. It is really cool. The reason I wanted it is because it's not super large, and I really didn't need a super large box, which I think is why it would work for a lot of people. You still get a bunch of really large bulk storage in here for like cases and stuff like this. You have a nice little, workspace in here, and then you also have quite a few drawers. And another thing that's really unique about this box is, although it's a KRA series, we've talked about this in some other videos, usually the KRA series is going to be 120 pounds on the slides, but this box is actually 227. 227 is what you see in the KCP Classic series. So the fact that this is a Classic series that is going to be rated for the 227, I think helps a lot. I'm not really a fan of the KRA series for that reason. They're just a little bit lighter duty. We have a KRA down there. It already sold, and quite a few KCPs. I just like selling the KCPs more. If I was going to work out of one, it's got to be a KCP. So this is actually the first time I ever realized that they had a KRA series that has a different drawer weight rating. And while doing research for this video, I also saw they have a side box. I've sold them before, and they attach to the KCP boxes, like the triple KCP 1423s, and they are like a side cap. They're not quite this large. I think they're like closer to that. And those boxes also have the 227, but the KRA acronym. I didn't realize that there was a difference in there. This is why I'm mentioning it. So before we get inside of the box and kind of go over what we have in it and the interior, I'm just going to list the specs and dimensions of all of the things. There is a little bit of detail lacking here because I do not know, for instance, what the weight of the Hutch is, and I'm not going to disassemble it to weigh it. And I also don't know what the weight of this top is. I couldn't even find this top on Snap-on's website, although I did find it on the Ultimator. The Ultimator has more complete parts, but also no specs. So sometimes when you're looking for, options for a box, I would recommend the Ultimator, but you're not going to be able to find like weight ratings and things like that there. So we're going to start with the bottom box. This is going to be the roll cab. It's going to be a KRA 1421, just like a 1422, only it's a single bank. So it's going to be just one bank of drawers. This is going to be the Workcenter. This is the work surface is going to be the Bedliner. If you have a top box, you have to have a Workcenter. I guess you could put like a piece of wood in there or something, but you have to bump it up to get it over the lip on the box. And if you have a Hutch, you need to have it that exact thickness. So really, you should just buy theirs. Although they are pretty expensive, they're $845 just for that Bedliner piece there, and that's going to be a KWSN 2436 BBL. The BBL because it's bedlined, the 2436 because it is 24 by 36. That's dimensions. All the bedlines are the same way they come up with the part number. The locker is going to be a KRA 1403, and this is the taller one. When you're looking at these, there is a different model of a single bank 36 box that's a little bit less tall. It is the 120 pound weight rating, and there's also a locker that's less tall. It's about this height. So if you're shopping for these things, just make sure you buy the right one. I've run into it quite a few times where someone reaches out to me to buy this locker, but it's the less tall option because they didn't realize it when they were buying. And the same applies for the Master Series. So we're going to go through the list price of these boxes. The bottom box here is going to be $3,900 list. The top box is going to be at $2,995, and the locker is going to be the most expensive at $3,930, bringing the total to $11,595. So it's rather expensive, but if you want to think about the list of like an Epic being at $16,000, this box is quite a bit under that, and I think it's more practical than just having, one large base box. The net weight and dimensions and the cubic and square inches we'll go through next quickly. The bottom box is going to be a net weight of 340 pounds. It is a capacity of 2,400 pounds. That's the same for all Classic Series because of the weight rating on the wheels. It is going to have a slide capacity of 227, which we mentioned in the beginning is the highest for actually any Snap-on box, same as even the Epics. The square inches is going to be 4,678. The cubic inches is going to be 18,840. Now we're going to mention the bed line once again here. The price is really the only thing I could find on it. It's $845. It's about 1.75 inches thick, and it is going to be 36 by 24 to match the bottom box. Now we get up to the top box here, or the Workcenter. It's a little bit different. Unlike the Master Series, if you want to come show this, on a Master Series it sits flush, and on an Epic it sits flush. Where you can see on this Classic Series, there's actually, it sits back a bit. I'm not very sure for this reason why it does this, but if you want to like look down at that orange box down there, that's usually how they line up, is they sit flush, and this would be the same as a Master Series. So the tops just line up like that. But on the Classic Series, they're not this way. I'm not exactly sure of the reason, but that is going to be one thing I would like to mention. And it also does line up with the edge of the locker, but the front of the box kind of lines up with the door of the locker. So when it's all together, I think it looks really nice. You can see here, this is actually, the frame of the locker. It lines up, but then when this is shut, this lines up. So all around, it does look good. And the info for this one, I do know also it's lacking a bit. It's going to be $2,995. And I do not know the cubic, I do not know the net, and I do not know the square inches of it. I guess there really is no square inches of it unless you want to consider this the square inches of it. And the cubic inches, even if you could use it, really wouldn't be that applicable because it's not like you're going to be filling it with tools. It's just meant to be an empty space. The dimensions of it, though, are going to be the same: 36 from edge to edge, 22.5 inches deep. So like I said, you lose that bit in the front, about 1.5 inches, and then it's going to be an extra 27 inches tall. Move on to the locker now. So if you combine all of these together, it gives you the total height of the box, which is going to be 72 inches, and that is the height of the locker also, so it lines up correctly on the height. It is going to be 24 inches deep and 25.5 inches wide, so it matches the depth of the bottom box. And then the net weight of the locker is going to be 367 pounds, so it's quite heavy. It has 4 drawers on the inside, and they are each also rated for 227 pounds. I do not know the capacity of this box. I'm going to guess it's probably 1,200 because it's actually stealing some of the weight off of this caster, but it does have 2 casters in it. So I would say if you want to utilize the full 2,400 out of your box in Hutch, you would probably want to be at less than 1,200 in your locker. Otherwise, you'd be overweighting your box. The capacity of it is probably 1,200 pounds, but that is a guess. The slides are going to be 227, the exact same. I already mentioned that. The square inches, 2,742, and the cubic inches, 21,707. So you are getting quite a few additional cubic and square inches from something that is only adding a little bit of space to your box. We're going to go ahead and open it up now. On the side of it, I see a lot of you guys do this. I like it. These are creeper hangers. They're pretty cheap, but a lot of guys will put them on their box and then use them as just a rack. You can hang like hose reels, and this one has my coat hanging on it. And then in another video, we looked at a cornwall cart. It had a magnetic top on it. I really liked it, so I kept it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but that's what that side decal is. It's just that magnet from what was on the box in that other video. And we have a hanger on the other side. Eventually, like these slot and dot panels over here, there will be one probably on each side of the box, and then that's where we're going to put overflow cleaning supplies, but until then there's just creeper hangers. On the inside they have 3 shelves. They're adjustable anywhere you want to go, and then also you can move these drawers at the bottom around, and each of these drawers is on a single set of slide. You cannot double slide them. They're just stuck at 227. At the top, we have our TV up here, so this is running my kid's Switch and then a PlayStation, which we really just use to stream YouTube, and then a couple extra drinks. We have like a fridge over here, so that's really what that is. It's just overflow, and then some extra shop towels. Once again, most of our shop towels are just kept out there. There's just overflow. This little gear wrench set, I use it a ton. It's pretty nice when you're going to work on something or going to pick up a box. A lot of times we'll bring it with us if they don't have the tops bolted together, or if we need to disassemble a box. A lot of times people have put aftermarket bolts in there, so it just helps to have any tool if I might need it. And it's only 1/4 3/8, which if you're working on a box, that's really all you need is 1/4 3/8. It's pretty rare you're going up to 1/2 inch drive stuff. I don't think there's actually a reason I've ever used a 1/2 inch drive socket on a toolbox. It also has like ratcheting wrenches in the top, and then like Allen and Torx, which are also very common on both Snap-on and Matco boxes. Next, if you come down here, these are a couple of blocks. We use these when strapping down boxes. These are some extra casters. There's a lot of parts in here. As you can see, there's like extra casters also up there. I think there's even, yeah, extra bumpers back here. So all around the shop, there is going to be extra parts. Some of them are in here. That's what those are. Those are classic serial wheels, same as this box, only they're chrome instead of black. This is a little jack. Use a jack a lot when you're working on boxes. If you need to jack a box up to switch the wheels, a lot of times wheels are supposed to be on a certain end, and when people put lockers on them, they don't really account for this. So they might have, you know, both pivoting wheels on one end with the fixed end on another, and the boxes are very hard to move this way. You really want this wheel there. Also, you'll see it sometimes you just need to replace the wheels. This happens, and the easiest way to do this is with a jack. Also, when you're moving lockers, a lot of times you have to take lockers off to adjust them because they didn't really have them set correctly, and it also comes in handy. So we use that a lot. It's a little one. I think it's like 4,000 pounds, but it's more than enough to move any box. Below it is going to be all cleaning supplies. Like I said, eventually these will go on slot and dot panels on the side. We are saving a bunch of can holders for that, but like we go through tire foam and glass cleaner. This is watered down Dawn. This is just water, and this is just water for when you're using magic erasers, tough stuff. This stuff works really good on liners. It's for detailing cars, fabric seats, brake clean. Sometimes you need it. I try to avoid using it on boxes, but signs it's required to get off really stuck stains. WD-40, use it a lot just to try to bust signs the wheels lock up, and signs just getting a little WD-40 in there helps free them. Like we also use pry bars a lot when you're trying to break free those wheels. I don't know how to describe it, but a lot of times those wheels will sit for so long, those locking mechanisms will just become really stiff. I'm sure some of you guys have experienced this. So if you just blast it out WD-40 and then unlock it and lock it and unlock it and lock it a bunch of times, that's what we do. And so for instance, the tools like that, like those are going to be too long. A Husky and a Snap-on pry bar. And then other tools we use frequently, I'll mention them since we're over here, like is that 1/2 inch Matco ratchet. That's like we work on tires because of the trailers and vehicles, the amount of miles we're doing, we go through tires a lot. There's usually, I would say, at least 1 month where for some reason trying to fix or replace a tire on one of the trailers or vehicles. That thing's great for it. And then the soldering iron, I use this a ton because if you guys have a trailer, you know the lights just stop working constantly. So that's what that is for, is to fix trailer lights because they're out there and it's a pain to try to get electric run all the way out there. The next drawer down is going to be slot and dot attachments along with just some extra paperwork. So these are screwdrivers, other screwdrivers. You can put other tools in here, but and then also can holders, and that's what I'm saving those for. Is on the side, we'll fill it with those chemicals, and then that's what that drawer is for. This is 1/2 inch sockets. Like I said, we don't use them much, along with like remotes and controllers for the TV. That's just a metric set, but for wheels it works fine. And then you're gonna have extra handles in here. So there's just more parts. That's a master's handle, classic handles. And then these are gonna be the old style 4S's, the new style 2S's, and then like Jamestown carts are all gonna use that same Matco handle. And then we have on this side, parts trays. I don't really use these that much. They're just cool. These are little clamps. Clamps come in handy a lot more than you would think. Sometimes you'll have to reattach labels and just trying to get them to hold on while the adhesives are adhering and things like that. I don't know why clamps come in handy so much, but they do. And then also a couple of little chisels. These are my rough chisels, and then also some picks, and these are little reciprocating saw blades, which we use a ton of. That pretty much wraps it up for the locker. And then in the Hutch, they make a light bar for this. It was out of stock when I put this box together, so I have a Matco. This is actually a light off of a Revel series. It works fine. It's just sitting on that lip with a magnet, so someday I can pull it out and I'll put the snap-on light in there when I get around to it. In here, I try to keep everything that's going to be like really common use. We go through paper towels, obviously, a lot cleaning boxes. Sometimes if the gunk is like really bad or grease is really bad, I don't want to use a towel because it's just going to ruin the towel. So I use like a paper towel to get, you know, chunks of grease out. And then also we use this quite often. If we use a Dyson to vacuum out all of the boxes, but also that'll get like the big chunks out. So if you have like zip ties and things like that, the little vacuum cleaners don't work well with it. So we'll use that to get the big debris out. We use both of these dead blows to work on slides and also just to fix minor cosmetic issues like Matco. The lips fold in a lot, especially on the 2S. These work good for straightening them back out, along with some other body tools we have down below, but I use these a lot so they're on top. These are the keys to the trailer tongue boxes, one of the trailer tongue boxes, and then the other one is to another trailer tongue box. The ratchets we use a ton, so they're just here. Pretty much every single box, the screwdrivers just come in handy. So I have the 3 most common sizes, which is going to be like a number 2, and this is a number 1, and then a couple various flatheads. The trim tool all the time we use, we go through oil changes like crazy, and to do a Ford Ranger oil change, which is a vehicle we put the most miles on, you have to go through the wheel well, so that gets used every couple of months. And then these right here, these 3 are going to be probably the most common use. This is a Torx that is going to fit all snap-on boxes. So this Torx is what you're going to use. I believe it's a T15. That's what you use like even on these little pressure clips. That screw right there is going to be a T15. It is also the same for when you are looking at like the speed drawer. The speed drawer is going to use the same screw, a T15. The holster racks, which people have a lot of times put together wrong, so you have to take them apart and put them back together. It's also going to be a T15. So that is why that gets used. And then this one here and this one here are going to be, the little one is going to be for Snap-on Classic Series handles, and then this is going to be for Master and Epic Series handles. These are a little Blue Point and a little Matco ADV. We use them quite often. They really don't break because everything is torqued so low, but they are handy, especially for these long ones when you're trying to get these screws in on these boxes, or if you're trying to take apart the holster rack drawers, you have to have a long Torx. Next is going to be a Snap-on little 3/8 wrench. That wrench is what you use to take off the handles off Matco boxes. So from the factory, 3/8 is what's on 2S's, carts, old style 4S's, I think current 4S's. So almost all Matco boxes use a 3/8 bolt on the handle. And the reason you constantly take those handles off is most times people have them on the wrong side. I don't know what it is. It's not most times. It's probably 20% of the time. And it's because people will take them off and maybe they have it like stored against a wall or something. They don't want that handle there. So they'll take it off. And a lot of times it'll just be inside the box, or there will be no handle, or it's on the wrong side. So in all those scenarios, you either have to replace it or move it. So it's nice just to have those tools on top. A little bit of scraper, you use this a lot on trying to get off adhesive residue if you're careful, and then a couple of scrapers. Scrapers are used on every single box. You like wrap a towel around it, and it's how you get inside of those grooves, you know, especially like in here. So you'd wrap a towel around it and you'd be able to clean in there and like that bottom lip. It's really the only way to do it. So 2 different scrapers, and then those are all just magnet on there. I like to have it just look clean, and then I can notice if I forgot to put something back. And then also a little awl. I use a little awl all the time, especially when you're like cleaning out slides. Also, that there are a lot of other tools around the shop we use, like even all of these are picks. I use these all the time. And this punch I actually like quite a bit. There's a punch and chisel in here also. They're fine, but there's more chisels and more punches around. I like the little Snap-on Spanish version more than the USA version, but that's just me. So we're going to go into the box now. Most of the drawers have an option to add a second set of slides. I haven't, although I will eventually double slide all of the drawers. And once again, all this is for boxes. So this works great, the slide hammer with this, I don't even know what you want to call it. It's in most sets. But if you're trying to pull the bottom dent out, you'll see it very common on boxes, and people lift them from forklifts. It'll fold those edges in. This does help get it straightened out enough to where you can get behind it with a hammer and a dolly. And those are going to be down below in the next drawer. So I use that sometimes, although when you use it, it's usually because the box is seriously damaged, but it does save the day. And then we have a nice Snap-on Thunderbit set. This is really handy, just working in general, but occasionally you have to drill stuff out, especially if the screws are stripped out on the Snap-on handles. A lot of times they'll rust in the older boxes, you have to drill them. The Knipex or Nipex plier, the set of 3, I use them all the time. That's a Another Knipex pipe wrench, we use it occasionally. Another Knipex, as you can see, I like them, and that's going to be their side cuts, couple of wire cutters. Occasionally you have to do work on the power drawers as they will blow lines, so that's what those are for. And then also a Matco. That's probably one of my most used tools, but just a little Matco needle nose, and then some off-brand smaller pair. Snap-on box cutter, and then like a long fillet knife. Surprisingly, that also comes in handy. And then this is a great tool. I need to replace it because I've started to wear it out. But if you have like a bend in the metal, let's say the metal is bent in like this, you can get this plier on there, and just by getting the plier on there and kind of wiggling it back and forth, you can straighten that metal back out without damaging it. You know, a hammer or a dolly is going to give you a lot more power, but it also damages the paint. So usually, if it's not really bad, you can save the little dents with this. And you'll see that like on these lips, like up here from straps, you'll see it quite often. So you can just kind of wiggle them back out, and like these lips here, that's why that one gets used. And then pens, brushes. Also, brushes get used a lot, especially like these little like old toothbrushes, nylon brushes, because you can get inside of areas like in here. If you're cleaning a box, getting ready to sell it, there's really no other way to do it. And then brass brushes, we use a ton of. The brass brushes clean bedline really well. So if they have a bunch of, you know, gunk on there, you can scrub it down with the brass brushes. Something else I'd like to note is most of the tops for almost every box I've ever seen have a lip on them, where this box does not. In fact, I think even this Epic box has a lip. Usually they have like a lip like this. You see this lip here. I don't have a lot of examples because not most of the boxes have tops, but like even this box here, you see it has like a lip, has a lip on all of the sides. It stops stuff rolling out. This box does not, which is weird. It's the first snap-on top I've seen that didn't have a lip. I don't think it really matters. In fact, I like that it doesn't have a lip, but I thought I would mention that. The next drawer down is actually, I think that was everything in here. This is for, I'll go through the last few things. This is for rebuilding ratchets. These are all rebuild kits for both Snap-on and Matco. We sell a lot of ratchets. I'll rebuild them if they need it. And then these are the snap ring pliers. The snap ring pliers are what you use to take apart Matco's ratchets. Snap-on's ratchets, I would take apart with that gear wrench set. And then zip ties, because we always coil up the power cords and zip tie them together. It's always good to have a nice knife. I don't know, they come in handy quite frequently. And then this is another puller for that same set. Another long trim pad tool, although I almost never use it as a trim pad tool. It's just a nice little pry bar. You can't get much force behind it, but it's really narrow, so you can fit in places you cannot fit a traditional pry bar. And it's a Mac, and I cannot break it. I've bent this thing like crazy, but I'm just waiting for it to break because I keep using it incorrectly. And then also we save a lot of the die grinder bit wrenches, because you need the little tiny wrenches to get in there. And a lot of times if we're going to sell one, I'll just remove those bits before we sell them because it's easier to ship. And a lot of times the bits are flapper discs are worn out anyway, so it makes the tool look bad. So that's what those are. That's the light that we have in here. It's like a Revel light. It's supposed to mount like right here on a Revel series box and then illuminate the drawers, kind of like how the lighted Snap-on tops do, only theirs was an add-on. I liked the idea because you could add it to any box without, you know, paying the additional money up front. The only downside of these are they hang way out, so they would get knocked off very easily. These are like Viper grip pliers. Honestly, they suck. I should throw them away. That's going to be a little digital micrometer or digital caliper. We use these a ton. I don't know why, but just trying to find parts or even measure things. Even if I'm just looking at a slide, making sure I have the right slide, they come in handy because that's the easiest way to tell the weight rating of a slide is how thick it is. So the Snap-on Classic Series 120 and 227s are going to be the same footprint. The only difference is the thickness. So like I'll use that if I'm replacing a slide to see what it should be. These Wilton, they make good vices, and they also make great hammers. That's what both of these are. A little dolly to get behind something when I'm bashing on it, usually fixing dents. More clamps. Occasionally the wood tops will warp, and you can get them, get the humidity high enough to bow them back down and then let them dry, and it'll pull it out. If you add screws into it when you straighten it back out, when it dries, it won't want to bow. So that's what those are primarily used for. These are flip sockets, once again for wheels. It'll do both the trailers and all three vehicles. This is a little Snap-on clip to remove the new KHP style a holster rack. They use these little clips and the little type of pressure clip instead of the T15s like we were used to. That just switched over last year, so that's what that tool is used for, is to adjust those. And then this is a little camera, a little scope. I use this all the time trying to figure out like why a box won't lock correctly. You know, you can fish the lens down in the bottom of the box and you can see if it's getting hung up or caught. That's saved me many times, because a lot of times a box, like, I just can't figure out what's wrong with it. So you can also record, you put it in there and then record why the box is operating, and then you can, you know, figure out why it wasn't operating correctly. Levels are for hanging my decorations on the walls. This is going to be more parts. These are attachments for buffers and grinders. This is just all Matco hardware. All of this stuff here is going to be Snap-on labels. This is the old labels. The new labels that you're going to find on the Carts and Classic, and then the label over here is what you're going to find on the Epic. The Epic is like a aluminum billet, and then those are going to be plastic, and then these are like a steel material. Step bits, I even used it on this box. I use these quite frequently just to get things to line up. I had a Matco the other day that from the factory, the two holes for the handle didn't quite line up, so I had to widen the outside one a tiny bit to make it work. It just what it is. On this box, they have, here, let me see the camera. They have a couple of mounting holes to put top attachments on it. Like one is going to be there. So I just barely widened out this one on this side so it could fit the cords out so they are hidden. And then in those scenarios, we'll just cut it out, make it fit, and then paint it back in with paint by whatever brand it was so it matches correctly, and it'll prevent that rust. You know, if you get a little ding in a box, getting touch-up paint on it is going to prevent that rust for the most part, and will stop the problem from getting worse. Although if you just leave it, it will rust, it'll spread, it'll get worse. So whenever we get a box in, if it's got little dings in it, we try to get those touched up just so the box is going to last another 20 years or longer. But if you just let those dings sit, especially on the lower portion of the box, when it gets, corrosive chemicals in there combined with the bare metal, you're going to see that spread rapidly. So that's one question people ask, is how can I take care of my box? And whenever they come, I tell them you should invest in the touch-up paint for it. They're cheap. It's like 25 to 30 bucks depending on the brand. They come in a little shaker bottle. They have the marble in there. Like, this is an unopened bottle of white. This is actually for a customer. We just picked it up for him, so we'll get it to him later this week. And yeah, it's not even just cosmetic, it's also just protecting the life of the box. So this is pretty much every color for both Matcos. Sometimes they go bad, like that one is gone bad, she get thrown away. But there's so many various reds. I think you can even see that, you have like just like 3 or 4 reds. So there's so many touch-up paints, it doesn't really look that way, but you have red, powder red, candy apple red, cranberry, orange. You have quite a few colors that are super similar, storm gray, arctic silver, dark titanium. That's gonna be flat black. It's the same with all the colors, and this isn't even all of them. We just added purple this week. There's many other colors that we do not have, especially some of the older colors. This is just the rails out of speed drawers. So on the boxes that were made before they had speed drawers, there's really no way to get the rail. Like mica is one we've had quite a few times. Mica is like a green. It's kind of a sparkly green. Like, it's a dark sparkly green, a bit hard to describe, but it's not similar to any color that they have now. And they made that box in the Epic series, so it was like maybe 2005, 2010, somewhere in there when they stopped making it. And as a result, it never saw the speed works that came out after that box was quit being made. And there's quite a few colors that are like that. They stopped making. I think Bel Air Blue was one of them, but I believe they've brought back Bel Air Blue. These are extra clips, same as those. These are really cool. I think more people. I buy a lot of boxes that do not have them in there. I guess I'll show how they work for anyone who cares. But the thing that's cool about them, I think, I don't know where our quarter winch ratchet went. That annoys me. When you tighten these things or loosen them, it increases the pressure that you see on it. So you see how this clip is pretty tight, but there's a space in here. Here, come on this angle. You see there's like a little space between these two. So it's like not super tight, but if you want to hold it, if you just put this screw down tight, this is why you need those long torques to get in there. And then see now, look, there is no gap, so it's tighter now. And that's because it's putting tension on that butterfly clip in the back. Let's see if I can hold it while I do this. I cannot do it with one hand. But you'll see this butterfly clip will actually spread. So as it pulls out, that butterfly clip releases, and then it should be a little bit tighter. But this allows you to tension how tight you want these things. So see now, a little bit more. So you can kind of have it set. And then they're hard to get straight, but I found that once you have it close, you just come back with a pair of pliers and you can kind of adjust it that way. But then that way you can set the tension correctly, so it's easy to pull a tool off and easy to put a tool back, and it's just a good design. It's a better design than any other brand I've seen, so I wish this was more common. I don't think most people even use these things. I wish they did. I would say 9 out of 10 boxes that have a locker do not have, or have a hutch, to have nothing on them. I wish their slot and dot panels had the same attachments. They do not. The slot and dot panels just have the slot, so it's really not a slot and dot, it's just a slot panel. But these are the slot and dots. These things are cool because they can also, like this here is a standard, you know, like from Menards or Home Depot hook. It works with those fine also. And then these are the slots, which can take like the screwdriver racks or anything like that. And then they also have these little pressure clips, and they have shelves and everything else that can fit in here. This box isn't very big. It's more useful on like an 84 or something that also has a 30-inch depth. But that is one complaint I have with the bigger boxes, is when you go to reach that back wall, when the box is like 30 inches, you really have to like lean in there to grab it. On the 24-inch Classic Series boxes, it's like very comfortable to grab a tool. You don't really have to climb inside there to get it, but if you have really long arms, maybe that's not a problem anyway. All right, we'll move on to the next drawer. I guess we were still looking at this one. Batteries, a lot of tools use batteries, even like little scopes or calipers or digital torque wrenches, all that stuff. So these are batteries just to test tools before we sell them. These are clips. These come in handy all the time. You guys use them all the time too, so we save stuff like that in the boxes. These are going to be catches for the Epic series. This is every piece of like this stuff. All of these are going to be like, these are for the I think these are toppers to snap on actually. They thread into a like a grommet that's built into these tops. So they're not wood screws, even though they're pointed. That just helps them like locate and get lined up correctly, but that's what they're for. Key rings, a lot of times people have 2 keys, so we'll just put them on a key ring before we sell the box so they don't get separated. And then all of these here are going to be brand new Matco locks, and for the most part over here is going to be new snap-on locks. These are off-brand locks. That's like what Harbor Freight boxes use. And then this is more additional hardware that are just for boxes. Like those little black things are the things that fill the holes on the side of a box. If you don't have a handle there, that's like what they're for. So if those are missing, we'll add them to a box before we sell it. These trays I like a lot. These trays are the same as this one over here. I like these a lot. These little, their MAP TM is the part number. I think they're like 80 bucks or something. I don't even know, but they're worth it. I like them more than Snap-on Speed Drawer because they're more adjustable. They just click in. You can put them anywhere. They hold really well, and they're not as big, so you don't lose your entire drawer like you do with the Speed Drawer. You know, you can just set this in there, and then also you can take it out. They also double function. If you're taking something apart, you can use it as a breakdown tray, so you know you can put pieces in there as you go to help you separate hardware out, but I just use them inside my box. I have several at home too. I have one that's just full. My home box tour, that was another video we did, so I guess you can just go watch that if you want to see it. But I have a couple of those just full of like drill bits. So, you know, drill bits, taps, and dies to help separate those things out. Also, one last thing in here, these are the caps to the Revel series. And we have a bunch more of those, I just don't know where they are. Yeah, I just keep seeing things. Those are the blades to the scrapers. If you're working on a box and you're gonna attempt to use a blade to remove adhesives, I like to use Tap Magic. We had a viewer recommend this stuff. It's in the other room. It's like an adhesive spray. I wish I had it here because it does work pretty well, but it also takes the paint off the box. So we're back to just using the trusty old aluminum Tap Magic. And when we use that, it kind of let it sit for 10 minutes, dissolves the adhesive, and then use a razor blade real fine to come back. When there's a lot of that oil there, it'll take off the adhesive. But just be careful, and if you guys are going to try to do that to remove stickers, just make sure your blade is brand new because it will destroy the paint on the box very quick. So we go through these blades. Almost every box gets a new blade. That's kind of how it works out. This is a little Icon wrench set. I don't really know why it's in here. I feel like there's been a bunch of times I wanted some larger sizes to take off the chucks from Air Tools, and I just didn't have them around. So I think that's why I saved that set. You know, like the bits on like a air hammer to fit into your airline, whatever you want to call those. That's what those are. These are Toolbox widgets. I've been meaning to try these out because people say they're cool, but they're just sitting here. I've not even tried them out. And then this is like an ADV Matco set, and that's really the only one I use for the box. That's why this is here. And I also like to hoard the paperwork. So there's like room in this drawer eventually to get added to. And there's other stuff in the box that really shouldn't be in the box, but I don't like empty drawers. So as long as there's nothing to go in there, I'll fill it with something. That's kind of my mentality. This is all going to be speed drawers. This is really a box, or a drawer rather, that should be weighted more. I don't know how much this weighs, but it's probably pushing the weight limit because this is just a lot of steel. But these are all the rails for a speed drawer. So a lot of times they will not have them, or they'll be missing some. So then we'll go ahead and replace them and get them back in order. These are like the things that you put on the side of the box to wrap a power cord from Snap-on. These are all the extra grommets for like inside of here on boxes. See, there's one here. When there's a power cord, you should have one there because you'll get a lot of rubbing, and this edge is pretty sharp, so it just prevents you from cutting that cord and possibly, you know, having an electric fire in your shop. So I'd recommend taking the time to put those in. Most people don't, and that's why I always add them into a box before we sell them. Next down is going to be like Milwaukee power tools. I just picked up those 2 batteries the other day. I don't know if you guys have this problem, but it drives me crazy. These little clips that hold the M12 batteries in, they snap off, and then the 2 batteries like kind of worthless because you'll like have it in a tool. I mean, this one still has 1 clip, so it might kind of work, but they just like that. Like I mean, it shouldn't. When there's only like one, when there's one, it like kind of works, but when there's none, it doesn't work at all. So I'm constantly replacing these batteries because of that. I know you can like buy the rebuilds for that. I just don't care. And I don't really want to spend the time to warranty it. And then these are M18 batteries. You get them a lot. I just picked up this little M12 ratchet. It'll replace the one on the trailer here within the next week. We use this a ton, a drill ton. And I just added a 1/2 inch. I have one of these at home. There's been a couple of times I've wished I had a 1/2 inch driver, especially like I think the most recent that we were hanging all these shelves, and it was a pain to do because all of my big enough drill bits that could put those anchors into the metal studs were 1/2 inch, and I just didn't have a 1/2 inch electric driver here, which is strange. And then this is going to be a little reciprocating saw. This is what we use to cut down the tops. The Matco have like a plastic top, and we buy them a ton, and I think they're a better material than most boxes, like even Snap-on's rubber mats. I think Matco's plastics are better, and they're also a little bit less money. So whenever we get a box that's missing a top, I'll just cut a Matco down to fit. They have a pretty thick material. In the shop tour video we did, I think we go over that in another room where it shows the stacks of those Matco tops, and then that's what we use to cut it down. That'll cut through it like butter, and it's the easiest way to do it. It's also the least mess, and then because you can hook a shop vac. Actually, this one cannot take a shop vac. Yeah, it can. It's through a little adapter here, and the adapter's, I think, in the next drawer below. Sawzall we use quite a bit. I think in another video, God, I keep mentioning videos, but we do a video talking about how we move boxes. And that's what I tell most people when they come, they want help. We have a bunch of like scrap 2x4s, and we'll just rip them down to size with like a Sawzall to get them to fit around the wheels to block them in so the box can't roll. It's easier just to store the 2x4s in long lengths and then just, you know, rip them down when we're outside with the Sawzall. In the back is a light I never use. The chargers for everything are not inside the box. That's never been a problem. I don't really care about a charger drawer because I just prefer them on the wall. So there's your more 18s. This is for a buffer that you're going to see in the next box. We have a couple stream lights, additional lights, and then the shop vac. So that type of stuff is on that side. And that's why I don't have chargers in here, because I just like them on the wall. And I'm the only one in this building, so, well, I'm the only one back here. So no one's going to steal them. And then down in the next drawer, this is all power cords. These are inverters for the lighted tops that we mentioned earlier. For Snap-on, and then these are all power cords. The power cords are missing a lot, so these are actually Snap-on brand power cords. These are Mac brand power cords. These are Matco. They are all the exact same. They're just lighter duty. This is a Cornwell one to their little carts, but it's actually the same exact plug on all of them on both ends, but Snap-ons are just super heavy, so I try to have a box leave with the correct power cord because it's what I would want if I was buying a box. This is a little buffer. We use that quite a lot. These are the buffing pads for it. There's a lot of times like little like rub marks in boxes you can get out. You're not going to get like scratches out. There are powder coat, so it takes a really light hand. If you're going to buff a box, I would be very, very careful. You can ruin a box easier than you can fix it. But you can get like little rubs out of it, and you'll like see that sometime. A lot of times on a trailer's where you see it most, there might be like some rub from where the box was against the wall of a trailer, and that can usually get that out. It also does help get off, like if it's against a wall, a lot of times the paint will actually transfer from the wall to the box, and then when you get that paint off, you can use the buffer to like go back and just make it look glass again. So that's really all we use it for. This is a little random orbital sander by Milwaukee. We use that on the bed, or the wood tops. The wood tops we always sand back down if we can, just to get them look decent. I don't always sand them all the way through, especially if they're really bad, but I will usually just try to get the majority of it out and then re-poly it. Gloves, because my wife likes to use gloves when she's cleaning toolboxes, so that's what all of those are. And then these are bristle pads. These things work really good on cleaning tools, not so much boxes, but sometimes on boxes if it's really bad, but they will scratch the paint, so I try not to use them for that. But like on a stainless steel top, I don't mind. And then these are all used discs. The magic erasers we use on the flat boxes, so on like, you know, flat black, desert tan, combat green, colors like this, even flat extreme green. I've seen extreme green but flat. What do you want to call that? I don't know. But that color, any color that doesn't have a gloss paint in it holds the grease really hard. So to get that grease out, it's like you can just like rub it with soapy water and never cleans, but just plain water and a clean magic eraser takes it right out. So if you guys have a flat black box or a flat box of any color, I'd highly recommend it. And then there's like a handle to the air, some extra attachments down the bottom. That's like a handle to the drill, and also the adapter for the vacuum cleaner, because when you cut up those tops, they just throw those little black plastic shavings everywhere, so that's what we use it for. Overall, I really like this box. I think I spent a long time looking for it, and I'm glad that I waited. There's been a lot of boxes that I've wanted that have come through that I thought I should just like keep, you know, even like, it's hard not to want to keep like an Epic 68, you know, you see they're awesome, or like even that Revel we had recently, that Revel right there, it's an awesome box, you know, and I really like it, but also it's just not practical for what we do. And I think there's maybe something I want to hit on here just a little bit, is people will ask me like all the time, like, what is the best box? And I don't really know that answer, because for me, this is the best box. If every box was the same dollar amount, and I guess that is sort of true to me, they are all the same dollar amount, you know, I don't really, whatever the box cost, I would keep it. If there was a box that was 10 times more money than this, but was a better fit for me, I would probably have it. It's not really an issue of money, it's just an issue of what fits the space the best. It makes me the most efficient while we're working, and that's why we have this. You know, we clean a box right here. We have a little cart, like a little Matco cart that we just roll around, and we use it to take everything out of. We'll have a couple of wire carts to put tools on, and then all the cleaning supplies are right here. The vacuum cleaner is right there. The batteries are right there. The tools are right here. You know, within 5 steps of this one area, we can do everything, and that does make it a lot more efficient. You know, I don't make money by the hour. I make money by the turnover, so we try to do it as quickly as possible, and that's why even like all of our screwdrivers are just right here. And you know, you even have like free all in the stainless steel cleaner, and this Cornwall cleaner works really great. And this is the compound for that buffer, the rub for that little Ryobi. So like, you know, even this stuff is used on almost every box that we need it, and it's just right here. So that's kind of what I want to stress, is efficiency, and that's why I think buying a box that is massive like an Epic is probably the best box. But with a lot of people, we've even done some tool hauls where you guys have massive boxes, we get them in, and there's really no tools in it. I think that's actually the least efficient thing you can do, because now you have like a giant drawer with like 3 things in it, and then you're having to open another drawer to have 3 things in it, and then your charging drawer is like 1 thing in it. It's just very inefficient. I think if you only have enough tools to fill a cart, the most efficient thing to do is to just have a cart, and that's probably the best option for you. So who makes the best box? I don't really know. That's hard to say. I think it's generally, you know, how many drawers do you want? Is weight rating important? Is the cubic inches important? You know, to me, I like having all the extra big space in here that I can easily store, you know, cleaners, big cases, and things like this. I like having a Workcenter that I can have all the tools easily grab off without even opening a drawer. And it's also Easy if I'm working with other people. If my wife is here, one of my employees are here, or my kid is here and I want them to grab something, it's just easy for them to grab it off of this wall. You know, they know what a paint scraper is. They don't have to go through the drawers, and that saves a lot of time. And that's why we moved away from the cart. And also you have a little space here to work. So if I'm like rebuilding a ratchet or something, it's nice to have a well-lit space right here. So I don't want to get too much into that. I know I can start ranting. I love toolboxes. I will talk about them all day long. But overall, I'm extremely happy with this. Realistically, this should be a right-hand locker. This is a left-hand locker. It is what it is. You could technically modify it, take the door off, debadge it, flip it upside down, and then mount it into these holes on the other side and pull those screws, and then flip the wheels around. It's just a lot of work. I don't want to do it. Maybe that's a job for this winter when we're slow, but we've been slammed. I haven't had time to do that. But eventually, I would like this locker on this side, so when you open it, you really don't run the risk of slamming it on the drawer. That's what you see a lot in these boxes, which is why I'm already concerned about it, is you'll have a drawer like this. On the Epic, they have like a plastic bumper here. It would protect it a little bit, but not much. And you know, if somebody's on this side, they don't really know it's open. They go to shut it, they're just gonna slam it right into that side. If it was on the other side, it would prevent it. So if you guys are shopping for a box, that is definitely something to think about, is where is it gonna be sitting? And that is what I would base off of where you want the locker. A lot of guys will say it's for left-handed or right-handed. You know, it's easier to have it be a right-handed because you're right-handed, so if you're facing the box, you can grab things out of it better. I don't really think that's the truth. I think it's better just to have it for whatever way it's opening. It's not opening up into the shop. So if you know you're against a wall, have it open up towards the wall rather than towards the shop. I think that's pretty much everything I want to mention in this video. One last thing is these struts are the exact same struts as in the large classic series, so they are way too strong. So you'll see it when I shut it, it's like very hard to pull. And then when I open it, it like wants to slam open. I mean, it's a little too much power. And that's because they just recycled these same parts. It should have a weaker strut in it. It just doesn't, and that's fine. I'm sure they'll wear out over time anyway, just a tiny complaint. The colors here are going to be the blackout trim package, so the wheels and logos are all going to be black. You have orange trim, and the color is supersonic blue. I've always loved that color combo. The only one I like actually more than this is going to be supersonic blue and rose. So if I was building this box custom, the only changes I would have made would be putting this locker on the other side, and I would have done a different color on the trim. But my favorite combo of every box that I've ever seen and we've ever had has always been supersonic blue with rose gold. We just happen to have one. It's the same. That orange is very close. I do still like it. I just like it with the rose a little bit more. It's not quite as contrasting, but it's still really pretty. And I do like the high contrast that you see in colors. You know, I like black and orange and black and red. I like the colors. I just, I think rose gold's probably the coolest one. They make a titanium trim and they make a rose gold trim. And on some of the Epics, you'll see a two-tone trim. And that's really cool, like a black Epic with rose gold trim and the dark titanium, because the Epics are actually two pieces of trim next to each other. If you have one, you'll know what I'm talking about. And I think that's probably one of my favorite color combos. But truthfully, my favorite of all of them is going to just be the rose gold with supersonic, and that is pretty close to it. So once we add on the slot and dot attachments on the side, that's kind of why I was waiting to make this video. I've had a lot of people ask, like, is it in the background in most of our videos now, because it's what we work out of, is could we do a review of it? And I wanted to wait till we had it fully together, but it is close enough at this time. I think we're just gonna leave it. And maybe someday there's a second locker. If anything, I could use more bulk storage. We used to have, I think in the shop tour video and a lot of other videos where, you know, with the shop in the background, we used to have like a big Husky cabinet in there that was full, and I could fit most of that stuff inside of that one. And that's what I like about those drawers. You can like pull them open and see everything you have in there rather than them just stuck on like a static shelf. So I do appreciate you guys watching. As always, I love talking about toolboxes, so thank you for listening to me rant about them, and until next time, I will see you guys soon.